Hey Vol Hunters, and welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. It's finally here. I have decided on my Zane build, and it has been working for me as far as bosses and slaughterhouses, so I am presenting it to you guys. Currently, the Iridium big event was live today, but currently there was no buffs or nerfs to any of the characters, so I figured I'd just post this. That way when there are buffs and nerfs to every character, I can just do one fairly short video going over every character and how I changed the build. But starting things off in Hitman, Violent Momentum, put 5 points into here just to increase your overall gun damage while you move. Salvation's a really nice kill skill to get lifesteal as when you're killing enemies, and it stays up really long, especially with death follows close. Put a point in here, increases your kill skill bonus percent, plus increases kill skill duration by 7 seconds, so this becomes 15. Really nice perk to jump into, even if you aren't going all the way down, or if you don't have a point in here and you're running almost any other thing. I mean, for the most part, you're running a couple kill skills, and this is just a really nice perk to have. Jumping into Double Agent Synchronicity, you want to put 5 points in here because when you're fighting bosses, you'll get 40% extra gun damage, and when you're going through slaughterhouses, you'll get the extra 20% because of barrier. Permutinous, this is a pretty good perk overall. It just increases your magazine size by 25% because with Zane you're not reloading really quick, so this just kind of helps with your overall DPS output. Borrow time, this just increases the action skill duration by 6% when you're doing Slaughterhouse, but if you're doing a boss fight, it increases your action skills by 12%. Overall, not a bad perk for only 2 points. Donnybrook, kill skill that makes it so when you do kill an enemy, you get extra gun damage and health regeneration, so good DPS overall and survivability with this perk for 5 points. Overall really nice, and with the one perk, the duration's also increased by a good amount, plus the health regeneration and gun damage is also increased. Pocket full of grenades, this is what this build is focused on. You want to put 3 points in here. Now I see a lot of different builds with like the God build with the ice build. This build basically makes so you can run any element and still get that high DPS, really good survivability. But yeah, I love Moe's, and I can see potential as far as Zane, kind of comparing both of them. But sadly, Moe's is better with the grenades compared to Zane. But this, honestly, when I was running through Slaughterhouse, I had max grenades just about every time I threw out a grenade. And I usually throw out 2, maybe gun down a guy or 2, and then throw out like another 2 or 3. And it, for the most part, it keeps up with how many grenades you do throw out. Jumping over into the Undercover tree, this is where you get most of your survivability and quite a bit of gun damage actually. 5 points into Adrenaline. Pretty much when your barrier runs out, if you have 5k shield and you have 10k, if your max shield is 10k but you only have 5k, your barrier will still only take like 1 to 2 seconds to be able to redeploy again. So you throw it out and you just keep going. This is different. Usually people like teleport with a digiclone, but instead of teleporting with a digiclone, you're just throwing out your barrier just constantly, and because of the barrier, you're not really taking any damage unless it's like a grenade that randomly gets into the barrier and you might take damage, but for the most part you don't. Hardy stock, Why I actually go into this compared to Ready for Action is because I run the Grave Ward shield. So when my shield is actually depleted, I get 50% extra weapon damage, which is really nice. So I kind of don't want all the recharge rate and delay. It's still nice, but when my barrier is still active, I get, and my shield is up, competence comes in handy just because I get the extra gun damage. So when I throw out my barrier and for like 5 to 6 seconds I'm doing 50% gun damage, and while my barrier is still active I'm doing 20%. So it kind of averages itself out as far as you're always having increased gun damage no matter where you're at as far as your shield. Then from hardy stick or hardy stock down below, you want to go into stiff upper lip just to give yourself damage resistance by 16%. Really nice survivability perk. Rise to the occasion for the extra health regeneration. And the lower his shield is, the higher the bonus, which is really nice because we're throwing away our shield with our class mod that we have. And then really expensive jacket. This just helps with the survivability if you take shock damage or fire damage. When you have no shield, the fire damage seriously takes like a second, and for the most part, with all the healing that you're getting with your kill skill, rise to the occasion, you're not gonna die by the time you throw out your other barrier. Plus, futility belt also will reduce the damage to fire and all that. And I'll explain a little later with the items of what you're going to want and the rolls that you're going to want on them as well. But right now I'll go over the barrier. What I run as far as barrier, I run the retaliation. So whenever Zane or allies are near the barrier, gain increased gun damage for a few seconds after the barrier takes damage. So just extra 10% gun damage almost all the time. Really nice perk. And then all-rounder, just so when I do, also this does reduce the cooldown of the barrier, but it also makes it so the barrier surrounds your whole body instead of just in front of you. So if you're getting shot from behind, you're not taking damage, or shot in the front, you're not taking damage. Really nice action skill augment to have. Now, when you are fighting a boss, I usually run this barrier setup, and I also go over to the double agent tree and run the digiclone just for a little extra survivability when fighting a boss with the extra shield restoration and the shared health damage. So I mean, you pretty much your digiclone is pretty much the dummy when you're facing a boss, but the reason why you just put digiclone on, depending on the boss, some bosses you can get away with running grenades, but like Tyrene or Grave Ward, you just want to run this just for the extra 20% gun damage, because there's really no grenades that you can hit with Grave Ward or Tyrene to really have a huge beneficial effect towards Zane. So that's pretty much what I do there. And when I run slaughter shafts or when I'm not facing a boss, I seriously just have the barrier and a hex grenade. Now, depending on what slaughter shaft you're running, there's different hex grenades. Like the dinosaur one, radiation's the best. The Malawan, thunder or electricity. And then obviously, I feel like the slaughter shaft, if you have the really rare overpowered ice hex grenade, that's definitely good for that. But I mean, any grenade works. I mean, I run the radiation one, and even with minus 50% gun damage and minus 50% radiation damage, I was able to complete it fairly easily. It just took me a while to obviously kill guys, but that's to be expected with the mayhem modifiers that I was running. But why this build also works in a way, and it's kind of weird, is with the Infiltrator class mod. Whenever you use an action skill, you lose your shield and you get increased weapon damage and movement speed. But with Roid Ward, you also get increased weapon damage while your shields are depleted. Now, the only difference is this should obviously be anointed, but instead of corrosive, I would like fire resistance, especially when I have the no health. It just helps more. It just helps more with the survivability over corrosive. And as far as my class mod goes, instead like the palm deflecting the bullets, instead of that, I'd rather have a point into either of the skills. Either have 4 points into the rabbit or like an extra point into the blue tree. And I honestly don't like how this thing has a shield recharge rate. I like how it has the weapon damage, but I don't really care for the Mala one. If I could get this class mod to have the perks like I do on this one, other than the corrosive resistance, that would be really nice. But I just don't. So sometimes I actually, throughout this build, I switch them up. For the most part, it works no matter what class mod you run. The Executor I usually run when I do the Slaughter Shafts and Trials, and the Infiltrator I run for bosses. But I mean, you guys can test it out. I mean, I didn't really notice a huge difference with them all, other than I have a better rolls with the Executor than I do the Infiltrator class mod, so I usually run that more than the Infiltrator right now anyways. But, and I don't really, I mean, I actually do have a pretty good Elemental Projector class mod for grenade damage, action skill cooldown, and melee really doesn't matter. So if I could get like extra elemental damage towards anything, that'd be actually a really perfect roll. Also, instead of slam generates a singularity effect, if I could get like one that increases damage against badasses or bosses, that would be really cool. Kill skill artifact. For the most part, I mean, for Zane, Crossroads are really nice. Roland's Call, Lucian's Call, Cutsman's are really nice. I wanted to try to get a Infinity going, and like an Infinity build with him, but I just can't seem to really figure out anything that can run the Infinity pistols overall. But yeah, there's a lot of different options with this build that you can run. Obviously, like the equipment that I have is not perfect, but where the points I think are where they should be to basically optimize this build and pretty much for you guys make it so you can run through just about any content. And I mean, I've been playing this for 3 days and I've been running through every single content, no matter what. I haven't even been looking at the modifiers, but I'm not going to show you guys a Slaughter Shaft video or me killing Grave Ward with a Fire Lyuda. I mean, you guys know what it does. You guys know what it does again with any character. But believe me, guys, this build does really work. Hey, if you guys did enjoy the video, as always, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications for more Borderlands 3 content. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I hope it works for you like it does for me. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.